I said, "What do you think about your school? What do you think about the project?" He goes, "Oh, thank you for thank you for putting a new school in my classroom," you know? And
Oh.
I thought that was I thought that was a really, authentic, sweet comment,
Yeah.
and I felt like, "Hey, good job for seeing that project through." Because he didn't just get that classroom fixed up, it was the one he was gonna go to for the next 4 or 5 years.
Ken, for those who may not know you yet, can you share a bit about who you are and what drew you to this work?
Sure. Ken Testa is a kid guy, a, a kind of a people person first, someone who was always trying to do his best in school and really appreciated being around teachers that cared and coaches that cared. Uh, had the benefit of living in a home where I had mom and dad and grandma. My mom's mom lived with us and raised me and my two brothers, and I'm the oldest of three. But wow, we had a great upbringing, kind of in the country, and but we knew what hard work was because we saw my dad doing that and my mom doing it in ranching and in working in the county auditor's office. And my grandma was always cooking food and always keeping an eye on me and my brothers, and we couldn't really get away with too much stuff. Uh,
Mhm.
but going to school and getting good grades was always something that I wanted to do and play sports. And I had great teachers that saw that I had needs. And I remember, a lady says, "You need to take senior English. You need to learn to write better." And I think that was a big deal looking back on it. It didn't save me in every case, but I was proud of my schooling and my mentorship. I always knew that there was a higher standard that we could provide for kids and for those we serve and those that we worked with. It was not just for the kids, primarily for kids, but it was great to work in a district that cared about facilities, that managed their resources well, and made that an element of the work condition. Um, so that's a little bit about me and my background. I always felt that school facilities were just a bigger piece of a kid's home life that I had an opportunity to be a part of.
Think about how many waking hours a day a child is at school versus anywhere else in their life. It is so important.
Yeah, I mean it was for me. I mean I was always at school. I felt like even when I wasn't at school, I was thinking about school and I was thinking about
Yeah.
when can I be in a sport or watch my buddies in sports. And I know I'm speaking just about sports, but I knew that there was other things going on like drama and choir um, and Clovis Unified really opened my eyes to a lot of other areas, robotics, high level performing arts, um,
Yeah.
academic decathlon, science fair, national level type stuff. And so it just always fed into my thought that in my hometown, Merced, when I went there to be the facility director, I really felt like, wow, I got an obligation to try to help improve, correct, enhance, or make a difference in my hometown where I thought I had been given those opportunities as a young kid. Um, Even though some of the schools when I returned were the same conditions as when I went to school there in the
Mhm.
in the 60s and 70s.
One common thread that I'm hearing through everyone that I've interviewed at school leaders is that everyone that works at school leaders seems to genuinely care about what they do, they care about who they're serving, but they're also really good listeners. They're saying, "What do you have? What do you need? What do you utilize?" They really actively listen to the individuals in each area that they're in, and I think that's just really inspiring.
Well, yeah, and I'd always think that those that I'm talking to are the real experts. They
Mhm.
know what's going on. They know what their challenges are, and they
Yeah.
need a teammate. They need a listener. Um, we just did that this morning with Joe and myself and Nova. We were talking to a superintendent that we're going to be helping her in her district. I went on, and Joe said, "Yeah, Ken's just real passionate." And I said, I am. I want to get down there to see the district. I mean, I want to see what's happening." And I was asking superintendent lots of questions because I really want to know what I'm going into because she knows her district, and we're just the you know, team members that are trying to bring it out for her and her community and her board so they can get the most out of what Sacramento's programs and the state dollars can provide.
It's a team. It's a team effort, right? You have competencies and she has competencies. And when you bring them together, you make so much cooler stuff than if you wall that off and keep those experiences and competencies separate.
Right,
It's a team
right.
sport.
And in a team, I don't know. I always go back to being on a team. It was always great to be a part of something that you knew depended only on everybody's contribution. It was just such a noble kind of effort. And fun to win, that was for sure.
Yeah,
Fun to win on Friday night. It made all the other hard work in the summer and in the off season and so forth worth it. Um,
absolutely. So we know that you're very passionate about what you do, and I love that. And it exudes from you, which is great. But what is a fun or surprising fact about you that people don't usually expect from a school facilities leader?
I think people might be surprised that I was, for some reason, a girls' varsity head coach soccer at a high school
Okay.
level. But
Yeah.
what makes it so interesting is I still don't know hardly anything about soccer and their
Oh,
strategy. I
yeah.
just had really good assistants. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and what does that have to do with facilities? Maybe nothing. But on the other hand, I knew who we were playing and that we had to make sure the grass was cut or watered a certain way to benefit our team.
What I heard you say was, I don't know much about soccer, but I know how to bring the people around me that do, and I know how to set it up for success. So I feel like you do
Yeah,
know a lot
we
about
and
it.
I was in charge of making sure the girls stayed eligible. I mean, I was
Uh-huh.
worried about their grades because we had some really
Yeah.
talented people, and they were fine in the classroom, but I still had to pay attention to that. And then, of course, just being a, a coach of girls when I
Mhm.
was a brand new girl dad was
Oh.
part of me trying to treat the girls like I thought I needed to treat my own daughter, but we had
Oh,
to also kind of get after it and win too. Well, that was a part
yeah.
of the relationship.
Oh,
We
that
weren't
is
there to
fun.
have a
I
good
love
time.
that.
We were there to
Yeah.
have a good time, but we knew we'd have a better time if we won, and we did.
Obviously. Yeah. Yeah,
But knowing
definitely.
about soccer, still don't have a clue other than get it in the back of the net.
So I'm curious what your first job ever was.
My first job ever
Ever,
was
ever.
okay. I believe my first job ever where I was paid was when I was like 11 and I gathered eggs at an egg ranch at Pimentel's Egg
Oh,
Ranch and
okay.
you had to do it early in the morning and later in the evening and on the
Yeah.
weekends and I made good money I thought but it was in bad conditions. I once tipped a whole cart of eggs
Oh.
off of the loading dock into the ground. It was like probably more eggs than
Oh,
I've ever ate in my life, but they didn't fire me.
oh,
They knew I was a hard worker.
yeah. I have to ask you though, did you see it just like in slow motion?
I did. It was slow
Oh,
motion and it was
yeah.
too far away from me to do much. I think I might
Oh.
have saved one flat of eggs, but
So you've overseen many major modernization projects and bond programs. So let's move away from the eggs and let's talk about what's a project or decision that you're especially proud of in your career?
This is hard. There was a lot of modernization projects, specific buildings, like the Steam Center in Merced, um, which was more about transforming opportunities to grow teacher skills as much as it was to enlighten kids' interest in science, technology, and engineering. That facility was a big project because it was systemic to the district's need.
Cool.
But I'm going to tell you, the biggest project is probably the one that I finished with at the end of my nearly 18 years in Merced, and that was to develop a set of board adopted, district embraced um, educational specifications and building standards, an official
Oh,
document that
yeah.
I know doesn't sound like a building or,
Oh,
a big warehouse that has just recently opened in the district that I was a part of too, but it establishes a set of specifications and standards, like a rule book for any
yeah.
project that includes educational specifications.
Yeah.
Um, which is what are those? Those are the standards, the essentials, the vows you take, when you when you do a facility project. So it's like an enduring element of the district that they created themselves, going back to that idea that we asked and we listened and we gathered and we synthesized and then we presented and they endorsed and they said yes, that's what we have to have for kids.
Yeah. There's so many aspects in there because at one point at the very beginning of this, you said, well, it may not be like a flashy building, but it's got so much more depth than a flashy building would. If you put up a flashy building and you don't have a good foundation under it, it's going to collapse, right? You built a really good
Exactly.
foundation that's going to go past one project or two projects and really endure. That's very neat. And for the betterment of these children, not for the betterment of your career or for your own flashy projects. That's really neat.
Yeah, and I could reflect on projects, and if Ken Testa just suggests that this project be built, it
Uh-huh.
might be exciting. It might get off the ground. The board probably would support it, especially if, enough people are into just wanting to see a building. But when it
Yeah.
comes from the staff, when it comes from the users, the custodians, the guys that
Yeah.
mow the lawn, the cooks, the bus drivers, and the teachers, and the administrators, and the counselors, and the psych, and the classified people, the business support, all those people that are in a school, and even input from kids. So we ask kids, what do you think about your school? What do you like better from what we did before?
Oh,
We listened to what they said about, well, it was nice to have the windows so you could see out.
oh yeah.
uh, those little pieces of the puzzle, they get woven into the ed specs um, with research too. I mean, I'm a big believer in scientific research, and embedded in the ed specs, the project, the building, you might say, the building Bible
Uh-huh.
was what current research speaks to, about world-class facilities for kids and how they transform their emotional, social, physical, and holistic benefit. I remember a little kid one time said, he was like a third grader. And so we fixed up the school over that summer. We modernized the classrooms, and he comes back in the fall. And I didn't seek him out, but I ended up seeing him on campus one time, and he says, "Hi, hi, hi, man, or hi, whoever." And I said, "Hey, I met you last year." I said, "What do you think about your school? What do you think about the project?" He goes, "Oh, thank you for putting a new school in my classroom." And
Oh.
I thought that was I thought that was a really authentic, sweet comment,
Yeah,
and I felt like, hey, good job for seeing that project
absolutely.
through, because
Yeah.
he didn't just get that classroom fixed up. It was the one he was going to go to for the next 4 or 5 years, And
Ah,
so that kind of charges your batteries up
yeah.
for quite a while. I don't think I've lost that charge yet. uh,
Nice.
because it is about what we do for kids, as corny, as silly as it sounds. Um,
It's not.
but
It's not corny or silly at
I
all.
I
Yeah.
still I still get a kick out of hearing the sound of an elementary school at lunchtime when they're out there horsing around. And of course, I'm always thinking, how's that grass? How's that fence? How's that playground doing? Because maintaining the facilities is just as critical as planning to um, plan for their modernization.
I do have a quick 5 questions that I'm
Okay.
asking everybody. What is your go-to coffee order?
Just house coffee with a couple creams and sweet lows.
What is your favorite leadership book or podcast?
I've read a lot of books, been around a lot. I can try to consume what's going on out there, but there's a little book called um, "The Five People You Meet in Heaven." It's has nothing to do with research, but it has a lot to do with each of our contributions. It was written by a guy named Mitch Albom, Albom. It's just a little short book, The Five People You Meet in Heaven, and I like to go to it once in a while because it reminds you that we all have a purpose and we all make a difference along the way, far more than we think.
So what is the best school lunch item?
Best school lunch item? Well,
Uh,
this will show my age, but tater tots. That's good stuff.
yes. So
Ta-
good. So
Tater
good. My
tots.
kids have
You
never
can't
had
put
them
down
before.
tater tots.
So
And no.
yeah. So what was the first concert you ever went to?
Ah, I saw Aerosmith and Kiss at Selland Arena in
Oh,
Fresno sometime around
nice.
1975 or 76. That
That
was
is awesome.
wild.